This week, Kendall and I are going to be building out a custom nightstand from a full sheet of 3/4 inch plywood.
Hold on, I need before shots. Just kidding. This is the before.
Birch veneered plywood, and we're just using that today to build out a nightstand end table thing. Our plan's drawn up here, and as you can see, all the cuts we need to make. Now, as much as I'd like to, I can't take credit for this design. I got these plans from Share Woodshop Diaries here on YouTube, which we've actually previously built to her spec, but this time we had to tweak the measurements by quite a bit to fit the dimensions that my client wanted. We started by ripping our plywood down to create the pieces for the inside box. This is just a little spacer that I made for my straight edge guide to account for the edge guide itself, as well as for the fence on my circular saw. So this is going to have a 2-box design, and what that means is that it's essentially one box inside of another one. If this is confusing, it'll make sense in a second. Oh, and we have a piece of foam for under our plywood so that we don't cut into the floor. The straight edge guide isn't perfect, as in my experience it tends to give quite a bit at the joints, even though I had tightened it to absolute hell. So I have Kendall here supporting the brakes, and I also gave myself a tiny little buffer that I can correct later on the table saw. Vacuuming after every cut took up 15% of the project time. I wanted to use the other edge of the plywood for the outside box just because it had nicer grain, so I'm trimming off this middle strip here, and from there we can just cross cut them to the dimensions we need. But I need to break down my edge guide first because we're not going to need it this long anymore. It's a lot easier to work on one strip at a time, so for now I'm cutting out all 4 sides of my inside box. So we got this table saw stand off of Marketplace for 20 bucks. It does work great for us, although we could probably benefit from putting some beefier wheels on it. We have to pull this thing over this giant crack and... Oh! Oh, that was a lot easier than yesterday. One thing about me that should come as no surprise is that I'm a big DIY fan. Maybe a bit too much, which means I often make do with what I've got instead of buying the right tools for the job. For example, I used to only have and therefore only use a jigsaw to cut old bases off, but it was really hard for me to get a straight line, and then I would end up wasting the next hour trying to fix it. I could have saved so much time if I just bit the bullet and got a circular saw, but I always just put it off because I technically could still do it, meaning I would end up wasting so much time, maybe even more than the cost of a new saw. But because we do this as a business, time is money, so being efficient is super important. I'm honestly still learning how to use my time as wisely as I possibly can, and since I've joined Skillshare, I've been able to hone in and really focus on organizing my time in a way that's efficient for my lifestyle. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers an almost endless range of classes ranging from productivity, design, crafts and DIY, and so much more. Right now, we're exploring a class on productivity and time management by Ali Abdal, who is a doctor and YouTuber. I've always been a bit of a dilly-dallyer, but I've been really trying to be intentional with my time so that I can have more of it to do the things that I love. Before you commit to a class, you can see how it's rated by community members, you can read the reviews, and there's even a discussion tab where you can have a conversation with the video creators themselves. As you can see, there's a ton of different categories, so whatever you're into, there's gonna be something that's right for you. We're grateful to be able to make content about something that we love and share it with all of you, so thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so don't procrastinate. Get started today. Now on the table saw, we're going to trim off that little buffer that I left myself earlier to account for any, instability on my end from the circular saw. But the table saw is hands down the best for getting super accurate and straight cuts. $16. Perfect. We've cut out the inner box components, and before we can put them together, I just want to make sure to lay a piece of edge banding on, just to make it not look so plywoody. So let me tell you something about edge banding that no one seems to want to talk about. The process is simple. but it takes absolutely forever.
Get your iron ready, nice and hot.
It was literally the most tedious part of this entire project since we had to do like I think 19 sides total. It definitely makes a huge difference in how it looks in the end. But if we didn't have to edge band, the total working time would have taken like maybe half as long only. And I also had to be super focused because I ended up getting like the 13/16 width because they don't carry a 1-inch edge band at my local hardware stores, which means on 3/4 inch boards I would only have like a millimeter of overhang to trim off. I just grabbed a spare wooden block that I had around to press down the veneer just to make sure everything is stuck down evenly, and then I left it for 15 minutes-ish to fully cool before I came back to trim the overhang. They tell you to use a J-roller, but this wooden block works fine. It also took longer because we had chosen pre-finished plywood, and I didn't want to just go crazy with the sander and ruin the finish, although that would have been the quickest way. This is my favorite tool for veneer trimming, and it's mostly because of the name. It's a bastard file. But you don't want to go too aggressively with this thing though, because otherwise it'll really live up to its name.
How does it feel? One side done only.
One side out of 5, and then I have to cut down the entire inside box. And then I have to do the drawers.
Ooh! Woohoo!
So now that everything has been veneered, the next step would be to attach the inside box together. And we're going to be doing pocket holes today to do that. Got my little pocket hole thingy. And I've just marked out where I want the pocket holes to be. So get a little spacer block right there. Okay. Snug. The other side.
So this entire unit is actually going to be deeper than it is wide, which is pretty uncommon for a nightstand, but I guess that's why you go custom.
Oh, my battery's dead. Oh crap. Don't move. Oh, that's so much longer. There. So now we're just about ready to attach the side walls onto the top and bottom of the inside box. We're going to do that with some of these pocket screws. I've put them in with a layer of wax just so they can glide in easily, and apparently it's supposed to make it not crack, and it works because we've done it before. So. It's not apparently, it does work.
So to install the middle shelf, we turned it upside down and then just laid some spacers down to rest it on so that we could secure it in place with some brad nails, and then we countersunk some screws in there as well. We had to make sure that these measurements were right, or else you would see a screw popping out from the inside. So now Kendall's cutting out the components for the outside box now, and after he's done, guess what I'm gonna do? More edge banding, my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I hope we did the measurements right for
The
the
drawer.
drawers.
We still had a bit of the plywood left over, so we used that to make our drawer box.
You can plug it in too.
Right.
Perfect. You guessed it, more edge banding. Now that we're finally done with that, we can attach the outside box to the inside box. We're gonna do this with some wood glue, so I'm gonna give these surfaces a really good scuff. There is gonna be an inch overhang to make room for the inset drawer that's gonna be there, so I made sure to leave that inch alone. And now we're gonna spread the glue around with our God-given tools. Eco-friendly, natural, and sustainable.
Okay. Which one?
We did this glue up upside down again so that if anything were to not be flush, it wouldn't be the top. And once everything was right where we wanted it, we clamped it down using a barrier so that we wouldn't mar the surface. And by now, it's really coming together.
Let's take a look. Are we ready? Okay.
Time to glue the top.
I grabbed this thin piece of scrap to spread the wood, and it actually did a really great job. So we're gonna use this thin sheet of plywood for the drawer bottom, but I'm just gonna cut it down to size so that it fits inside the drawer. And by I mean Kendall.
Now I just need to measure out my length, which is 19.
So my table saw only cuts up to 17 inches, so I had to cut on the waist side instead of on the stock side, and in doing so, I have to make sure that the blade is on the waist side to account for the blade width.
Pretty good.
Cutting some dados for the drawer bottom so it can just sit comfortably inside this little groove that we're gonna make. This is only up 1/4 of an inch. Past the first screw, I'm gonna make it a little wider. Oh no, it goes in. Oh yeah, that's a nice fit. We'll attach the drawer box together using pocket holes, so let's go back to the jig. Doing a quick dry fit now just to make sure everything's good. Ooh, baby.
Is that not way too short?
Huh? Oh,
It is. Why is it like that? Wait, it was supposed to be... Wait, what did you set it at?
I never set the table saw. It was all you.
It was supposed to be 20.
And you set it at.
I didn't set it at. I didn't even draw the...
Yeah, you drew the line. You did 19, didn't you?
I just need to measure out my length, which is 19. 19. Oh, I did do it at 19.
Heck.
Okay, well, I guess this is now the backboard.
Now that we've identified the problem, me, we can now go ahead and cut down the correct drawer bottom size. Something I've learned from doing pocket holes is that unless you have it clamped down perfectly, those suckers are going to move on you, and most of the time it gets pulled in like a 1/16 or even an 1/8 of an inch. So you can either expect it and have it hang off just a little bit and let it correct yourself, or you can shoot a couple brads in it and it'll hold pretty reliably.
Our drawer. So we're just putting on our drawer front now, marking out where I want my screw to be.
That's exactly what I want.
Alright, she's on. It's long and deep.
That's what she said.
So we have the body and the drawer, but now I need to make the legs. I just drew and cut out a simple leg design on a 1x4 and I used the whole width of it. I didn't really measure the angles too much, so this can be just kind of whatever you want as long as all 4 legs are the same. Once I have my first leg, I'll trace it out onto the rest of my 1x4 and cut the length using a speed square and a circular saw.
Check out my little rig. My little disc sander. Let's hope no one gets hurt. Being a little wobbly. I don't know if I trust it. Oh my god, it just comes right out. Oh.
I switched over to my detail sander to continue softening the edges.
Okay.
Got the legs. We're just tracing out where we want them to sit, basically, before we drill them in. So I want these at a 45-degree angle. I will just use my speed square as a guide. Line it up so it's close. Push it up, and then the speed square will correct my angle.
We're installing the legs from the inside out so that you won't see any of the screws when it's done. We're going to be pilot holing twice because we want the countersink to be on the hidden side.
Okay, perfect. Perfectly aligned. All thanks to prep work.
So we're almost at the finish line, just a couple more things, one being drawer slides.
I'm not very happy about these.
These are 3 times the price.
After we came back from Home Depot, we did a dry fit and it didn't go very well because we literally couldn't fit the drawer in with the slides, which means either the body is too narrow or the drawer box is too wide. That means we had a decision to make.
Like it takes this look.
I mean, here, you come feel. I feel like it gets tighter as like the further it goes.
I'm gonna need your help to hold it steady.
Now, we obviously weren't going to rebuild the whole thing, so we took apart the drawer box and then Kendall cut down the sides just a touch. We've learned the hard way to use a sacrificial fence when shaving down stuff with the table saw, because I carved into the fence like a week or two after we got it. Sucks, but now I'll never forget.
Okay. Where them screws at?
It finally fit, and now we can just screw in the slides.
Oh, these things are.
Full extension.
Two finger close. Wait!
We installed the handles, which I'm not going to show you till the end because we didn't film it.
Next.
Fast glue up. Not bad. Oh crap, I got it on the side. Good.
And now the next thing to do is to cut out the backboards from our leftover 1/4-inch plywood, the same material as the drawer bottoms. And once that was cut out, we just attached that with brad nailer. And now it's time to make our cute little logo with our laser machine.
The exhaust is on, right?
Bring it out. Grab her out.
Slide our test pieces.
Yeah.
Boom.
There she is. Ooh.
So now I'm just waxing the veneered areas as well as the drawer bottoms since those are still unfinished. I'm going in with Howard Speed and Wax, and this just makes it so much smoother, and it does darken it a bit to match the rest of the nightstand. So holy smokes guys, this was so much work, and as you can see we started from a slab of plywood, but after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, most of them being from fixing our F-ups, but really it was from edge banding, we were able to build a beautiful nightstand that will literally fit perfectly inside our client's home. I love the natural grain and the color of the nightstand, but the kicker is that it feels super premium due to the slides that were, although very expensive, turned out being worth every cent in the end. I'm super proud to have built this thing completely from scratch and that it actually looks so freaking good. If you are new here, please subscribe to the channel if you want to see us do more cool shit. Comment down below what you thought of this build, and Kendall and I will see you next time here on Holly's Garage. Bye guys.